Gonna go ahead and start the stream. It's taking a minute. Okay. I think we are live. So hello everybody and welcome to whatever the fuck this is. This is the HBR News number 158 after show, making the most equalist society ever. That's Evar with an A. So you know just how Evar it is. It's the most.
It's even
Everest.
more equal than the pigs were, because they were just ever with an E. Yeah.
Well, you know, some are more equal than others.
We are going to be the most equal. So, this is an article by Bloomberg entitled, "Can You Build a Nation with 100% Gender Equality?" And Jordan Peterson cringes wherever he is right now at the thought of that. Let us see if we can't ourselves socially construct a truly gender equal world. Now, I haven't done this myself at all. So, I don't know what this is gonna, what kind of fruit this is going to bear.
The answer is no. I'm pretty sure the answer is no. Because the more I look into the word gender, the more I think it just means type, doesn't it? A nation with 100% gender equality means not just you don't have a sexual species with men and women in it. It's you don't have a situation with different agents in it or different particles in it. It would just be a big old fucking grey sludge, which is not a nation. I think by definition that's not a nation. A nation necessarily has a broad range of peoples in it, right? Otherwise it's not a nation, it's just a fucking hive. It's a termite colony. So no, you can't build a nation with 100% gender equality. You can only build, like I said,
well, I guess that depends on your definition of people.
Well, humans. We're mammals. We're tetrapods. We're a pair bonding species.
Well, a nation is just a large collection of people.
What if we just kill everyone who disagrees with our plan? Would we then have equality with whoever's left? If we purge.
Well, you'd have equality, but you wouldn't have a nation because there'd only be one person left.
Even the Borg don't have gender equality. Even the Borg has a queen. You know, like bees and ants and shit. The Borg are fucking anarcho-communism played out to its logical conclusion. Well, and even they still don't have gender equality.
If they would have hung in there a little bit longer, it would have happened. Okay.
Real Borg has never been tried.
No, real Borg has never been tried. Okay. So, can you do it? We'll find out. Click your way through the flowchart, selecting your policy preferences on everything from women's rights to own property to gender identity protection. Then see which countries have adopted your preferred approach, plus how they scored on the World Economic Forum's 2017 scale of women's, there's an asterisk there, I don't know what it refers to, economic participation and opportunity. Spoiler alert, no country has scored 100%. I wonder why! There is no such thing as perfect equality.
The asterisk links to something near the bottom of the article saying there aren't enough laws or enough data to assess race, sexuality, etc.
Oh, the intersections? The intersections, right?
I think that's what...
Yes.
They can't figure out all the other protected identities statistics. So they're just looking at women's because they can fudge those ones, I guess.
Yep. It's like putting together a jigsaw puzzle made completely out of slivers. All right, so let's start with the basics. Property rights. Two choices, guys. Yes, women should be able to own stuff. Is that really in question? Or we don't need to put equal rights to own property in a law. Let's skip that.
So already they are engaging in a false dilemma fallacy. The idea of needing a law, equal rights to own property being put into a law as the only way for women to be able to own stuff is unnecessary. It doesn't have to be in a law. Women can own stuff. There just has to not be a law that says women can't own stuff. It's quite ridiculous there.
Well, they started it wrong before we even got to the questions, because it starts with women's economic participation and opportunity that we're looking at, women's rights. So we're already off to we haven't even clicked anything yet, and we know that we're doing this right. We're about to get woke, fellas. So which one do you guys want? I'm gonna go down the line. Who here can talk in the chat? Because I actually want to take a tally.
I cannot.
Oh, okay. So
You
I'm
just-
gonna go
you
down
just
the
did.
line. Maybe you guys who are listening that are in the chat here, I want you to type what answer you want if you can. Chad's sock puppet. Which one should women be allowed to own stuff, or do you think we don't need to put equal rights to own property in a law? Equal rights.
I don't believe that private property should exist.
Okay. All right. Well, there's an approach.
Hey, Jan Capistan, where you at?
So you're not voting then, because neither of these things work, right? You don't like either of these answers?
I don't like either of those answers. One of those answers is the feminist answer. The other is the anarcho-communist answer. Either women should be able to own stuff, or no one should be able to own anything, except women.
Well, no, it's not even that. They actually are saying that unless you have a law that specifies who's got property rights, women don't have a right to own stuff. If you don't have a law that specifies who can own stuff, then you recognize ownership. Wouldn't that mean anybody? If you don't specify who can own stuff, you're also not specifying that anybody cannot own stuff.
Yeah, imagine King John looking at the Magna Carta, and he's got two choices. Yes, the king should be able to own stuff. Is that really in question?
Yeah.
Or option two, well, we don't need it. You know.
The king owns everything. Well, that'll settle it.
So I guess it's either women. Cinnamon Chimera, what do you think? Should women be able to own stuff, or should nobody be able to own stuff? Just type it in there if you have it. No idea. So nobody wants to take the risk and just pick one. It's not like this country is actually going to spontaneously come into existence when we finish this flowchart, unless somewhere it does.
Well, the logical thing would be the right choice, right? We don't need to put equal rights.
I'm gonna do what I always do on personality tests and choose the worst answer I can think of just to see what they give me. So
There we go.
I'm gonna go with the one on the right there. We don't need to put equal rights to own property.
That is clearly the one they don't want us to choose. Because they've worded the two questions to make it sound like if we don't write into law specifically about women, women are excluded.
Zarang
This is
votes for
ironic.
the one on the
So
right.
I'm going to go with that one too.
One of these is written
that
in
one,
obviously
that's the one.
casual English. Women should be able to own stuff. Is that really in question? That's the obviously true one, and the obviously untrue one is written in fairly formal English. So already we know what our agenda is, and we know it that deep into the agenda that we can be frivolous about it.
I want to hear Mr. 303's what you were going to say about the one on the right.
Well, if we give them the benefit of the doubt, we could read the right one as I think, like Hannah suggested, we don't need to put this into law to assume that everybody is equal.
Okay,
So
that's another way to look at it.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and click that then. We're going to do the right one. Nobody's voted for the left yet. No pun intended, but there it is anyway. All right, so we've done that. I got a little arrow that tells me that I've successfully clicked it. Discrimination in pink. People can identify however they want, but the law should only recognize men and women. It's choice number one. If we really believe gender-based discrimination is wrong, employment law should cover the whole gender spectrum. That's option number two. Companies should be able to decide whom to hire based on whatever criteria they like, including gender. That is number three. I know, and Capistan is all about number 3. I'm about number 3 myself. I'm okay with people's right to discriminate.
They do seem to be laying this over the political spectrum, don't they? The left is on the left and the right is on the right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does sound like that's where they're going. So, does anyone? Go ahead.
They did put the one in the center is actually not a centrist position.
Yeah, that's the leftist one. The one on the left is more of a centrist one.
Yeah. Although, and I vote for the third option on the right there as well.
Okay. Does anybody take issue with the one on the right, number 3, choice number 3? Somebody says define talk. Let's get our definition. Define B. Let's talk about B for the word B for 3 hours. All right, companies should be able to decide. Everyone's saying 3. All right, define. A lot of 3s in chat. Equal pay. Oh boy. Choice number 1. If we make companies show how much they pay men and women, equal pay will take care of itself. So if we make them show how much they pay, equal pay will take care of itself because we will enforce it if they make it public, I guess. Okay.
It won't take care of itself. It'll have a lot of propaganda to get through.
Yeah. Second choice, companies should pay men and women equally, but they don't have to publicize their payrolls. Okay. Choice number 3, everyone doing the same work should be paying the same amount, and companies should disclose their salary data. And number 4, men and women just aren't equally good at everything, and they shouldn't have to be paid as if they are.
Smash that 4 button.
No, it's the closest. They didn't actually have a good option in there. My option would be a 5th option. Companies shouldn't be told by the government what they have to pay. They should be able to negotiate with employees to determine what they're going to pay and what employees are willing to work for.
Well, I think that's what they meant by that last option there.
Yeah, that's as close as you can get to that. I don't think that's what they meant by that last option.
Yeah,
but,
some people are saying
that's
it's
as close
2.
as you can get to it.
Yeah, some people are saying number 2, companies should pay men and women equally, but they don't have to publicize their payrolls. I don't know if the intention is that men and women should be paid equally, provided that they have the same skills and they're willing to work the same hours, etc., and so on. I think they're saying they should be paid the same regardless of anything else, based only on their gender, but they don't have to publicize their payrolls. I'm looking at number 4, but I don't think it's because of the whole men and women just aren't equally good at everything part. That tends to be true, but it's more like they shouldn't have to be paid. Nobody should have to be paid as though they are the same as somebody else. They don't have to be.
I think companies should be free to pay the employee based on the value of the work, and workers should be free to tell companies, "Fuck you, I'm going somewhere else."
Yeah.
If they don't like what they're offered as the value of their work.
Yeah. See, basically,
or I'm starting my own business, maybe.
Yeah.
If nobody will work for a company, maybe they're not paying enough.
It seems that the quiz is dynamic, and we already, without clicking this question yet, we already have 3 countries: Rwanda, Belgium, and Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna. Okay. So who here? Who likes number 1? Nobody. Nobody likes number 1, right? Nobody. I'm watching the chat. Nobody likes number 1. Who here likes number 2? What do you guys that are watching the live chat have to say? Maybe they change this to the live chat, so I make sure I'm not missing anything. Somebody wrote 2. Zeranx wrote 2, I think. I don't know if he's talking about this one. And then who likes number 3? Everyone doing the same work should be paid the same amount, and companies should disclose their salary. I don't think companies should have to do shit. And then number 4, which is the one I'm leaning towards. So who in here?
Number 4.
So I got a couple for 4. What's his Ancapistan like? What do you like? Number 4? Ancapistan?
Yeah.
Number 4, yeah.
Number 4, obviously, he says.
We're spamming the option on the right every time to see what they tell us. They're going to tell us we're a Nazi. That's what I want.
Yeah, that's what they're going to say.
The option on the right every time, and they're going to call us a Nazi.
All right,
it's gonna be
go.
Number 4 gets the closest to what I said would be right.
Yeah.
At least it removes one rule that would interfere with companies and employees negotiating with each other. If there was a rule that they had to pay men and women the same regardless, then that would prevent companies and employees from negotiating with each other for the value of the work. So that's my vote, number 4.
That's number 4 is the vote for people with dragon energy, and we have dragon energy.
Yes, there we go.
All
and
right.
I will also say, I don't think that companies should have to disclose or even be allowed to publicly disclose what employees get paid. I don't think anybody else has the right to know my pay. That should be considered my private financial information if I work for a company, and my neighbor doesn't have the right to know how many dollars are in my bank account that my card and my wallet can access when I come home in the dark. Because some of my neighbors are not really all that trustworthy. So I don't want people knowing that.
Yeah,
and I think that would be problematic.
Well, that's the funny thing, is that they say this like companies are the ones publicizing, but it's not their shit they're published. They're making other people, like, they're making employees' finances that should be private for the employees' protection public. It's not about the company.
Yeah.
It's about the people. People don't want other people to know how much money they make.
I'm just waiting. I'm just waiting for some group gets this kind of thing put through where these companies are legally required to disclose employees' financial information like that, and then somebody who gets paid a lot, gets followed home and robbed because it's publicly known that they make X number of dollars a year and they likely have X number of dollars in their bank account on payday. And they're robbed and beaten or killed or whatever, and their family sues the company that had to disclose that information rather than the group that forced the company into that situation.
It's apparently this is one of the main cultural differences between Americans and the UK, or at least one of the main ones. In the UK in particular, it's considered quite rude to ask someone how much they make. I mean, aside from legality of it all, even in sort of manners, it's generally considered impolite to say, "What do you make?" Whereas apparently in America, it's quite a normal question to say, "What do you make?" As in, what's your salary? How much do you earn?
Well, it's only really common in LA. Most other places, it's kind of rude.
Yeah,
well, you have different reactions to it too. Like some people, if you make very little money, that's embarrassing. And then in other subcultures in the United States, if you make a lot of money, that's embarrassing. You're the rich person in the room, and suddenly you're considered to be the person who has taken from everyone else. And so there's a lot of reasons why people might not want to disclose their income. And I mean, it's the lady that I used to encounter occasionally on my way to my gas station job that used to have a habit of having loud and vehement, vicious arguments without anybody else being present that she could possibly be arguing with. And, I don't want her hearing that I have money because she might want it for drugs. But, yeah, there's a lot of reasons why people might not want their income disclosed.
Yep. All right. Honey Badger in the U.S., you can get in trouble talking about your salary coworkers. Yeah. I mean, I never do, but you can because, again, it creates resentment and it fucks with morale in the workplace. If employees tell each other what they make, then clearly there's going to be the envious person that didn't, because what you're getting paid is not just based on your merit as an employee, but also in part based on what you kind of haggle with your employer in terms of like what you guys work out, in some cases. So the employer is trying to figure out the least amount they can pay you, and you're trying to get the most that you can. So what you do is,
which is merit in itself, in a way.
Yeah. And then you guys find kind of a comfortable spot in the middle where you're both satisfied and you both agree this is what I will be paid. And what an employee is willing, how high they're willing to go and how little an employee is willing to take So how high an employer is willing to go and how little an employee is willing to make will depend on that individual circumstance. So somebody who, is single and a part-time student and is just happy with whatever, they will likely get minimum wage and they'll be happy with it, although they might want more. And they don't have a lot of experience. Someone who has a lot of experience and they have a family to support and they have bills to pay and mortgages, they're going to be way more competitive about how much they get, even if they're not in the same, like in a higher status position. So they might work hard to get more money. And there's not only that, but there's different like personality traits and availability and a bunch of other shit that affects the employer's bargaining power with the employee and vice versa. So, and then that's before you get into other things, like some people they will take a hit on how much they get, salary wise in exchange for benefits or 401ks or other sorts of ways that they can benefit. But the problem with that is that when employees are talking to each other about how much they make, as soon as somebody finds out they're not getting paid as much as somebody else, the first thing they try to work out in their head is how it's unfair, whether it's, because that person doesn't work as often or that person's job is easier. And a lot of times people make this shit up in their head because they want to be victims and they want to think that they're being treated unfairly, whereas when they didn't know, they were perfectly content with what they had because it was what they worked out. And if they weren't, then they can go find something somewhere else. So it makes sense that generally companies have a policy where they don't want people talking about each other's salary. Not that they can actually police that, because people can just talk about in their private lives. But it's essentially to keep the people from trying to break essentially the contract they make with their employer to work a job for a certain amount of money. So
we want more money.
Yeah. All right. So next question is parental leave. Paid maternity leave. This is number 1. Paid maternity leave is a given, but men shouldn't be penalized for wanting to bond with their children and help out at home. So I guess they're saying men and women should be able to, whatever.
Wait, it's a given?
They
Are
should
they
be
not going to
given.
have an option for no maternity leave?
Not for option number 1 means it's a given, but they should also give it to men. Period. Second choice.
Oh, I see.
Second choice, let's not deprive women of their salaries just for giving birth. For men, though, staying at home is a choice. So that's the sexist answer. And the third one, which is probably the most sexist, actually the real sexist answer, is it's silly to pay people for not working, period. I'm not going to lie.
My choice is obvious.
Outrage. No, it's the right one again.
I want the right one. I want the right one. Zarang Simply Kaiser 3-3. Go ahead, Hannah.
The right one is as close as you can get to. Companies should be able to make that decision for themselves, and employees should be able to negotiate with companies for what they want. So that's my answer. It's silly to pay people for not working, period.
And why do you need to say the word period when it's in text and there's actually a period?
Because whoever wrote this was probably on hers.
And why did you not say it's silly to pay people for not working, period?
Exclamation point!
Maybe you're supposed to be reading it in Ben Shapiro's voice or something. It's silly to pay people for not working, period, folks.
Hey, you got to remember, it's always better to have a period than a question mark.
All right, so we're gonna go.
I've heard English people using that phrase now. When they say something, they say blah blah blah. Period. Oh, yeah. I cringe every time they do it. The word is full stop, bruv.
Your period is cringy.
I know this blocks up a whole section of jokes where we don't name punctuation after the same thing as a woman bleeding out of herself. But fucking you never know how many Americanisms we're already speaking though. Because even back in the 30s, there were English people complaining about Americanisms.
Now we're colonizing you!
and they've already made their way in. Apparently, shocking is an Americanism. The word shocking as used as an adjective, as opposed.
Now, isn't that shocking?
Well, imagine my shock.
Simple things like that are all over the English vocabulary. Americanisms, we don't even know about it.
Mm-hmm.
But But I want to keep hold of full stop, guys. I prefer full stop to period. It's I don't know why it's called a period, because it doesn't represent a period. It represents a stop.
Full stop is good. Full stop is good. I'll try to use that more often in my.
No, you guys can carry on using period. It's your language. I'm just having a go at English people who say blah 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 blah.
Maybe we should start making them octagonal and red.
Because in Britain it just sounds like you're saying it's silly to pay people for not working. Bleed out your ass.
Actually, that makes it better. Finish an emphatic statement with, therefore, bleed out your ass.
Yeah.
I am emphatic about this opinion. Bleed out your ass.
All right, so last question in our perfect equality society. Actually, this is pretty far from equality, but
oh fuck! I just read it. This is the easiest one.
Okay,
God.
political representation. Let's have at least 30% of elected office holders be women. Why should they influence laws that affect them? You know, why 30%? Why isn't it 50%?
Because women are only subject to 30% of the laws. They don't realize what they admitted.
I mean, seriously, what?
Oh, Jesus.
First of all, I'm going to keep saying loud and clearly that I am a feminist.
Because it's 2015.
Let's limit women to 30% of elected office holders and see if feminists, start bleeding out of their eyes in frustration over at least 30%.
And the other option, in case you haven't got around to it yet, is democracy.
Yeah.
Democracy. Democracy. I vote for
democracy. Whomever they want as leaders.
Yeah. Shouldn't we let people pick whomever they want as their leaders? Is the option number 2. So what do you guys think? Should we set up this system where all this stuff that's not in women's interests, and then put women in charge as the last step? Make 30% of the office holders be women. I mean, they do that in Islamic countries. You know, there's a lot of female politicians and prime ministers and stuff in the Middle East. There are, and that means that those countries actually have equality done right. I am not kidding. I have seen feminist videos and websites that have said that about countries like Saudi Arabia, where they say, well, there are women in parliament, so they're doing it better than we are.
And yet they don't say it about the Conservative Party, which in Britain, for instance, had a female prime minister for 3 terms.
All right, so the people in the live chat on YouTube are saying 2, Blade Kaiser, Xeranx, Beta Mosquito, Mike Hawk, Confused Gynecologist, they're all saying 2. So are we just going to do that? We're going to go with democracy and freedom? Is that what you guys want?
Freedom and democracy for all.
Yes.
Scumbags.
I'm disappointed that there isn't a choice for autocracy.
Yeah, or the
monarchy.
I know that, yeah, monarchy. Shouldn't we have a queen? Like a Borg queen? All right, so we've all voted on the far right. And the result is, it says, sorry, no country in our analysis has adopted this particular set of legislation. No such place exists. Go ahead.
The funny thing is that before we answer the parental leave question, so that we shouldn't pay people for not working, we had Saudi Arabia and Rwanda, so apparently they have some sort of maternity leave over there.
Yeah, apparently Somalia has some kind of maternity leave program going on.
So the countries where feminists say women are not allowed to work have maternity leave. What are they taking leave from?
Well, I don't know. The Lolicon makes a really interesting point.
Emotional labor. They're taking leave.
There we go.
Emotional labor.
Emotional labor.
Apparently, whatever it is we created has actually never been tried. So
Checkmate communists.
There we go.
Checkmate communists. Maybe this could be Kekistan. But
Kekistan, yes.
maybe not. That might be. Is that cringe already? Is that cringe and lame? E-bombs.
gay
Well,
too.
4chan really wants it to be because they want it back.
Yeah, well, the moment the country exists, all of the other countries will declare it cringe, but and that'll be their reason to attack, and they'll say it's going to fail all on its own, and they don't need to attack, but they're going to do it anyway because it's just so bad that they have to teach them a lesson.
Would you say the Meninism meme has died? Hasn't really, has it? It's just sort of taken its place in the fold, and now it's just there to piss off people who don't know they're being mocked. You know, feminists hate Meninism because they don't realize they're the ones that are being mocked. And ethno-nationalists hate Kekistan because they don't realize they're the ones being mocked.
It's like watching a cat attack a mirror.
That was very much how I felt when I watched Mr. Medicare respond to Karen's taunting on Twitter. It was exactly like watching a cat attack a mirror. Or a chicken attack a mirror.
No comment section. Bloomberg, I am disappointed. I want to see how many other people came up with not countries that don't actually exist but seem to enjoy the most freedom. At least with the options you guys gave us. Is there really no
There is no such
place?
thing as a free country.
Apparently not.
Well, those are contradictory terms.
That's an interesting point.
Yeah,
Antarctica.
I can agree with that to a degree.
Yeah,
And
Antarctica.
if you try to go there, you'll get shot.
There's some bases that you don't want to go near, but in general, you can wander around Antarctica for most of your life, and no one will bother you.
Yes, but if you don't prepare yourself before going there, most of your life will be however long it takes you to freeze to death.
Still the rest of your life.
The same is true of most deserts, actually. You can wander around those forever.
Yeah, but you might not freeze to death in the deserts that are warm part of the time.
You will when the sun goes down.
Yeah, but you're likely to die to die of dehydration during the day first.
That's why you bury yourself during the day. That's
There
what
you go.
critters do.
That way, once you're dead, you're also buried.
You know what I want to do? Before I close out the show, I want to do one more thing. I want to answer all these questions as a feminist to see what they get. I want to answer these.
What would be the most feminist answer?
The most feminist answers. Okay, so
as it turns out, it's also Saudi Arabia.
Property rights.
That would be funny.
It probably is. Property rights. Yes, women should be able to own stuff. Of course, we're going to do that because women. Discrimination. People can identify however they want, but the law should only recognize men and women. No. If we really believe gender-based discrimination is wrong, employment laws should cover the whole spectrum. That sounds like a feminist answer to me.
That's a feminist answer,
Number two,
yeah.
Equal pay. If we make companies show how much they pay men and women, equal pay will take care of itself. Companies should pay men and women equally, but they don't have to publicize. Nope. Everyone doing the same work should be paid the same amount, and companies should disclose the salary data. That sounds like feminist.
That's it.
That's the
That's
feminist answer. Because they want to see it, they want to control it, micromanage it, and they expect it to be equal. Basically, whichever one is the most totalitarian and the most female-centric is the right answer. Parental leave.
Yeah.
Paid maternity leave is given, but men should not be penalized for wanting to bond with their children. Or, let's not deprive women of their salaries just for giving birth. For men, though, staying at home is a choice. I think one of these two.
Ooh, do we virtue signal for men or not? That's what would feminists do.
It's the one with both sexes getting paid maternity leave because that would be the biggest attack on capitalism, and feminism is anti-capitalist.
Yeah.
That's the far left right there.
I don't know. Okay, I think we should put this one up to a vote. And one or two
It's
guys.
also mentioning men helping out at home. That's very feminist.
Yeah, but we could force them to work. Because we got to get the taxes from somebody.
It depends on which particular kind of cancer we're going with here.
If we choose the middle one, we get a cooler result.
Traditionalism is the middle one. Modern feminism, most feminism is the one on the left, but traditionalism is definitely the middle one.
Yeah, our feminists could never resist the virtue signaling on the left one.
Yeah, concerned women.
They wouldn't know how to get around that. You know?
Concerned Women for America, center. National Organization for Women, left.
I think that feminists would. they would talk about doing the left one, but if they actually had to choose and the rubber hit the road, they go with the middle one. And they would make men
Probably
because
secretly.
they would go with the middle one because somebody has to pay the taxes to pay for women's maternity leave, and it has to be the men. So this one is the least oppressive to women, is the middle one, I think. And if men do have a choice to stay at home, that just means they don't get to be fathers because why would a woman hang out with a loser like that anyway? And then lastly, we have political representation. Oh, yeah. At least 30%. But really, we should probably shoot for something like 70% women. That should have been an option. Because if we have an all-women parliament, they would not only know what's best for women because they are women, but they would know what's best for men because toxic masculinity blinds men from what they really should value. So this should actually have a more radical, no, I wouldn't say radical, common sense answer in that more women should have, 77%. Yeah, for the one.
I can't help but feel that idea would backfire horribly on feminists because of the number of conservative women that run for office.
Well, they would say that conservative women are misogynistic and they should be banned from running for office.
They're not women anymore.
If they express the wrong ideas, and they just, once they got 70% women, then they would go for 70% left-wing progressive women.
All right, so what is our result? Norway, 82%. Norway.
The one with the paradox. The one with the paradox named after it, yeah. They call it the most free country, but it's only free by feminist standards.
Yes.
Well, I know where I don't want to go. Vikings lived here. Vikings! Okay, Norway, 82%. Norway met all of our gender...
They all moved to Ireland.
Yeah. Norway met all of our gender legislation indicators and ranks second in the World Economic Forum's Economic Equality Index. Why does such a thing exist? In 2011, the country began requiring that women make up at least 40% of a company's board of directors. Then in 2014, the country passed a law to prohibit discrimination on the basis of sexual orientation. That same year, Norway passed the father's quota, which gives both parents a minimum 10 weeks of paid parental leave out of the total 49 to 50 weeks already provided.
Wasn't the first country on that list Rwanda?
When we
or am I misremembering?
When we were doing
No, not with the new set of rules.
Yeah, you know what? I don't know if these guys have enough countries in their database where everything is like, we don't have that.
Yeah, you can't get stats on a lot of Middle Eastern countries, especially Saudi. They don't let Western journalists do any stuff. They don't let journalists do the necessary studies necessary to get the data. In
any case, you would notice that Norway is not very much a powerhouse economically. It's kind of slumpy. They're just not progressing.
Huh. Well, now we know Norway is the feminist country. We knew that.
And knowing is half the battle.
G.I. Joe.
Oh, boy. All right. Well, I think we've gone for about 40 minutes, so I'm going to wrap up the after show, and I'm going to save this other thing for later. STDs in LA County are skyrocketing. This could be fun to do as a side-by-side. I do have to do a
LA
thing,
cunty?
Yeah, cunty.
He was right.
I have to do a thing with Aiden on Friday, so maybe we'll make this the after show thing, and we'll do the STDs in LA thing for fun. Unless something crazier happens, which is highly likely. But
do the Aiden shows have after shows?
Well, we didn't. Yeah, we did one last week. Yeah. Allison asked me to do an after show, so I'll if I can, I'll have Aiden come on an after show, and we'll do that. You guys are quiet.
Mm-hmm.
They got to scream again.
What was that?
Never mind. No.
Okay. All right. Well, with that said, I'm going to go ahead and take us out. So I want to thank you guys for joining us on the after show. I hope you had fun. It was actually a lot of fun and pretty funny. Although I think Bloomberg needs to like beef up those quizzes because it was a little simple and they left a couple of options out, like the extreme end cap options, as well as the maybe the total. Let's just go full on commie options. Let's just give me the whole gamut is what I want to know. How can I get China as a result? That's what I'm shooting for. How about North Korea? I want a North Korean answer to be a possibility. I mean, they got women in office there. They got women politicians, you know. So anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and get out of here, guys. Thanks for joining us in the after show.